Hi there, this is Jean Roman with For Dragonflies and Me. Thanks so much for joining me at today's video on Gardening 101. Today we're going to talk about rhubarb. And a lot of people out there may think, oh, that's an old-fashioned vegetable, not fruit. And, what do you do with rhubarb? Where do I even get rhubarb? It is traditionally, I guess, something that, my grandma and my mom made. I'm 53, going to be 54 this summer, but you can still find it at the farmers markets. You can still find it in grocery stores, but a lot of people just don't know what to do with it. So today I am going to show you how to grow it, how to care for it, and then also send you over to my blog at For Dragonflies and Me, where I'm going to show you a video on how to properly harvest it, as well as send you over for some super yummy recipes. One recipe, my youngest son, Aaron, who's 12, almost 13, strawberry rhubarb dump cake, super yum dessert, and it's great in the springtime. So, as always, I've created a beautiful PowerPoint to display and show you guys everything. And then I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to read what I have written, of course, and then I'm going to go into a little bit more detail and talk to you about it. So, let's share my screen and make it a slideshow. Yay, there we go. Oh, and it is on the wrong. Welcome. Today's topic is Gardening 101, how to grow and care for rhubarb, plus a bonus recipes and how to properly harvest it video. Let's get rolling right into this. So as always, I love to start my blogs, my videos, my podcasts with a quote. And today, of course, is not going to be any different. So the lesson I have thoroughly learned and wish to pass on to others is to know the enduring happiness that the love of a garden gives. And if you're a gardener, you know exactly. This is touching your heart. So thank you, Gertrude Jekyll, for those words of wisdom. And that picture that I just had up there, that was the rhubarb dump cake that my son, actually at that time, 11 or 10 years old, made. So I mentioned earlier in my introduction, did you know that rhubarb is actually a vegetable, not a fruit? Well, friends, it is. And a lot of people think of it as a fruit, I think, because it's in desserts. And so a lot of times you're not putting vegetables in desserts, with the exception of sweet potatoes. So, yes, rhubarb is a vegetable and not a dessert. And it's a versatile vegetable. It has a very tangy, tart flavor and can easily be combined with the sweetness of strawberry, which is generally what it is put with. Not all the time. Some people just like a straight up rhubarb pie. We prefer it with strawberry to sweeten it up, and it does take a lot of sugar. But again, great to combine with strawberry or left on its own. So it is definitely a favorite amongst home gardeners and chefs alike, thanks to its unique taste and versatility in the kitchen. So you've never tried rhubarb? Well, if you're new to gardening or have never grown rhubarb before, you might be wondering where to start. So fear not, as always, in this episode of Gardening 101, I'll take you through everything you need to know about planting and caring for your own rhubarb. So, from choosing the right variety, and yes, there are multiple varieties, to harvesting and cooking, I've got you covered. So, whether you're a seasoned green thumb or a novice gardener looking to grow something new and different, this episode will equip you with all the knowledge and skills you need to grow your own delicious rhubarb. Get ready to add a touch of tangy goodness to your garden and your plate. So this is a rhubarb plant. This was mine at my other home. However, if you follow me on social media, you know that I just picked up my rhubarb plant at, excuse me, Bogey Lake Greenhouse the other weekend. So super excited for that. We just finished, again, if you're following me on social media. If you're not, follow me on For Dragonflies and Me at Facebook and Instagram. I've been doing reels on us putting together my brand new raised bed garden, building the raised beds, building my greenhouse. So super excited. And before I go any further in this one, if you find value in this video, please smash that subscribe button and smash the like button. And so this way, YouTube will put me in front of other people who are interested in gardening stuff. It's a funny algorithm and I need your support, friends. So thank you so much. But a lot of people what is rhubarb, right? So let's talk a little bit about the history of rhubarb. Rhubarb is a vegetable that has been used for medicinal purposes for thousands of years in China. It wasn't until the 18th century that it was introduced to Europe as a food crop. So I thought that was kind of interesting to share. It quickly became popular in England as a dessert ingredient, and it's been a staple in gardens ever since. I remember my grandmother had her rhubarb plant. So rhubarb is a member of the buckwheat family and is known for its tart flavor. So buckwheat, I mean, that's kind of surprising when even when I read that and was doing the research, I was like, oh, that's definitely a little tidbit of information I want to share. But over the years, rhubarb has been used for everything from medicinal purposes to delicious desserts. In the early 1800s, it was used to treat constipation and other digestive issues. So have some rhubarb if you're having a little bit of a blockage. It was used also during the World War I and World War II as a substitute for fruit desserts due to rationing. Today, rhubarb is a popular ingredient for pies, jams, and other desserts. So there is a couple different varieties of rhubarb. There's a green rhubarb and a red rhubarb. And so that's what we're going to talk about right now. So choosing the right rhubarb variety for your garden and your taste buds. You can actually have one of each and see what you like. But there are several different varieties of rhubarb to choose from. The two main types are the red and the green. Red rhubarb is sweeter and less tart than green rhubarb. It's also more visually appealing, which makes it a popular choice for desserts. Green rhubarb is more tart and is often used in savory dishes. When choosing a variety of rhubarb, it's important to consider the climate in your area. Like I say for everything, I just recently did strawberries, blueberries, and raspberries. So you always have to take into those considerations. I'm in the Midwest, I'm in Michigan, so I am growing something that is hardy for this temperature area. So when you're choosing a variety of rhubarb, it's important to, again, to consider your climate. And some varieties are better suited for colder climates, while others are better suited for warmer climates. It's also important to choose a variety that is disease resistant. And so, I'm always promoting heirlooms, and obviously that is what I would choose. But if you're not, that isn't like a big deal for you, then look at the tag descriptions. Like I always say, read the descriptions on the plant tags, the catalog description, the seed packet. They all have descriptions of for what the climate that it needs, the height that it grows, the depth of planting, the spacing for planting, how long till it germinates, how long till you harvest. All those things are on the seed packets, the plant tags, and or your catalog descriptions. And if it's not, you can Google it. So be sure to do your research no matter what you're planting so that you're not disappointed, because friends, rhubarb is a perennial. So this is something that you're going to have every year and it's going to come back. So when you take the time to plant it and then are expecting a harvest and it doesn't do well for you because you didn't do the research, it's very disappointing. So especially asparagus, blueberries, and those other types of perennial vegetables, you definitely want to double check, what zone it is best suited for. And I did do a blog YouTube video, excuse me, friends, just a little bit ago on your zones and what they represent, and making sure you're checking to what zone you are, especially if you're a beginner gardener. You want to know these things. What zone you are is crucial. I mean, if you're living in Michigan, you're not going to be growing fruit that oranges, for instance. You can't, I mean, if you bring it in, you can if you have the space, but you're not going to be having an orange tree out in your backyard. So let's moving on. So now that you have chosen your variety and you've determined that you want to grow some rhubarb, where do you plant it and when? So when and how to plant your rhubarb is a really key factor as well. So it is generally best planted in early spring when the ground is still cool, and it's important to choose a location that gets plenty of sunlight and well draining soil. Rhubarb plants should be spaced about 3 to 4 feet apart because, believe me, friends, they get big. They get ginormous. The leaves themselves are like ginormous. But rhubarb plants should be spaced again 3 to 4 feet apart, and to allow for proper growth and also for good harvesting. You don't want to be climbing into the plant. So when planting rhubarb, it's also important to dig a hole that is deep enough to accommodate the roots. The crown of the plant should be level with the soil. And after planting, water the plant thoroughly to help establish it, and also mulch. So like the asparagus crowns, like the strawberry crowns. Remember what I talked about in those episodes? You want to make sure that those crowns are above the soil level, not underneath. If a little dirt gets on them, that's not going to be a big deal, but you don't want to bury them 6 feet under. So planting your rhubarb, again, it does take a little bit of thought. Fertilizing and mulching your rhubarb plants. Rhubarb plants require regular fertilization to ensure proper growth. It's best to fertilize them in early spring before they start to grow, and using a balanced fertilizer that is high in nitrogen. So also another way you can add this organically is mulch it with grass clippings. There you go. And that grass clippings will break down, it will decompose and break down into the soil. So that is definitely one way to fertilize very inexpensively. Use your grass clippings. Mulching with grass clippings is also important for rhubarb plants. Mulch helps to maintain moisture in the soil and suppresses weeds, and that's what we want. And as you can see in this plant, this again is my rhubarb plant, and it is actually next to asparagus. Those asparagus that you kind of see, it looks all ferny, those are obviously already harvested, and those were being left to go to fern, which I just talked about in the video that I did on how to plant and care for asparagus. So raised beds are always going to be your best bet because you don't have to worry about a bunch of weeds coming in. Easy to mulch, easy to weed when you do need to pull out one or two. So, and again, with raised beds, mulching is super important so that you maintain your moisture. So of course, I always promote organic mulch such as straw or compost. That is another thing you want to do in your raised beds is add a couple bags of composted manure that you can get at any garden center. If you have a 4x8 bed, I would recommend 2 bags of it, and it's super cheap. I just bought I think 18 bags for my new raised beds. They were $1.77 each, and it is going to be one of your best investments for your garden, especially your raised beds. But even if you have a standard garden that's tillable, definitely sprinkle just a just a little bit of manure down your aisles and where your rows are that you're going to be planting, and till it in. But you know me, I prefer raised beds every day. So mulching is also important for rhubarb plants because it helps maintain that moisture and again to suppress the weeds. It's best to use again organic supplies such as grass clippings, even leaves, straw, grass clippings, even pine needles. So whatever you have, but just make sure that it's, something organic. So, and you want to apply that mulch in early spring after the ground is warmed up. So thinking about that, every spring you do want to add new mulch. So harvesting and storing your rhubarb. Here's the fun part, right? You grew your plants, you are excited. Now you are harvested it, and there you go. Rhubarb dessert, strawberry rhubarb dessert with some vanilla ice cream. You can't beat that, friends. So how do you do it? How do you harvest it? How do you store it? So rhubarb is super easy to store for the winter. And so you can have rhubarb literally year round, especially depending on how many plants you have. I only have one plant. I'll put a few bags of frozen rhubarb away. I will make a little bit of rhubarb jam for my boys because they do like it. But it's typically ready to harvest in late spring and early summer. And to harvest your rhubarb, you gently pull the stalks from the plant. It's best to harvest those stalks when they're about 12 to 18 inches long. That is not including the leaf. So when you go into your rhubarb, and I display this, I'm going to give you a very easy tutorial video that I show you how to harvest rhubarb in my video at my blog at For Dragonflies and Me. So after this video, jump over there and then you can save that. Make sure you subscribe so you can easily refer back to it. And I do daily posts, and so you don't want to miss a thing. So After you harvest your rhubarb, it can be stored in the refrigerator for about up to a week. I would recommend wrapping it in some wet paper towels and putting it in a plastic bag. And if you want to pre-chop it, that's even better. It's just going to save you time in the long run. I'm always about prepping and getting things, making my job easier. So it can also be frozen for later use. And to freeze rhubarb is super easy. Simply wash it, chop the stalks into about 1 inch chunks, and then place those pieces in a freezer bag. Toss them in the freezer. I always, though, one pro tip, date your bag. And I I know you're probably going to use it and you're thinking, why do I need to date it? I'll probably use it in 6 months. Well, just in case. You may not want to keep something for over 6 months. You may not want to keep it the next year when you're reharvesting. But think about also how much you want to use in a recipe. So if you're making a rhubarb pie or a rhubarb dessert, like the dump cake I have here in the picture, you want 4 cups. So using a gallon size freezer bag, you want to measure out 4 heaping cups of rhubarb, diced or already chopped rhubarb, so 1 inch chunks. And then when you're ready to make your recipe, it's already pre-measured. Another easy pro tip, right? So you don't want to put it in huge bags and then it freezes and they're clumps and you're like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Pre-measure it and freeze it into bags and you will be so happy. So what's next? There's my baby Aaron. He is my youngest, and if you've been watching me on YouTube, we were supposed to just do our chicken pesto pasta recipe, and we failed. We were so busy out in the garden this past week, and so we didn't get to do our weekly video. But there it is, super easy: rhubarb, butter, strawberry jello, a yellow cake mix, and some sugar. You got to have sugar with rhubarb. But this is a super easy dessert, and that is the picture that you saw earlier. So rhubarb recipes and cooking with rhubarb is super easy. Again, it's a versatile vegetable that can be used in a variety of dishes. It's most commonly used in desserts such as pies, crumbles, and tarts. But it can also be used in savory dishes such as sauces and marinades. So almost like a compo. And so it's very good with that. It really adds like a unique flavor to, like, with pork chops, super yum. So one popular recipe is rhubarb pie. And to make a pie, you just take mixed chopped rhubarb and sugar, flour, and a pinch of salt. Pour the mixture into a pie crust and bake until the crust is golden brown. And I know that's very vague. And I do, again, have lots of recipes. If you have my cookbook, Lovingly Seasoned Eats and Treats, where is that? Thought I had that right here. My bad. But there is a lot of rhubarb recipes. It's a Mennonite cookbook, so it's a lot of traditional cooking. Lovingly Seasoned Eats and Treats. It is 500-page spiral-bound softcover with almost 1,000 recipes in it. And there's a huge canning section, and I have personally about 100 of my recipes in that cookbook. You can also purchase it as a downloadable PDF. So those are both available at my blog at fordragonfliesandme.com, and those links will be in the description here at my YouTube channel. So definitely want to look at that. And my blog, if you have my recipe book already, I tell you the pages that those recipes are on. So you definitely want to head over there. So another popular rhubarb recipe is rhubarb jam, which, again, I said I'm going to be making this year. I actually make it with rhubarb and strawberries because, as you all know, I'm a frequent flyer to all farmers markets. And so this year, unfortunately, I'm going to have to buy my own rhubarb and buy my strawberries, which is fine because I'm always about supporting those local farmers. And I'm going to make some strawberry rhubarb jam. And I'm, of course, going to make a strawberry dump cake. But it is super easy to make rhubarb jam. You cook your chopped rhubarb with sugar, lemon juice, and a pinch of salt, and cook that mixture until it thickens, and then pour it into jars and store it in a refrigerator. So you do need some type of jello or a pectin, which, again, I have all those recipes at my blog, in my cookbook, and you can definitely find a plethora of rhubarb recipes. So now it's time to head over to my blog for those recipes and to watch my video on how to properly harvest rhubarb. So I'll see you over there, friends. But I do want to say, make sure you watch that video because harvesting your rhubarb is really important. And I do go into that in my video. It's not a matter of just cutting the stalk out or breaking it off. You actually will do damage to your plant and invite pests that you don't want. So the key to pulling out rhubarb is pulling the stalk out from the base of the plant. And that is the proper way. So I give you a very, very detailed, specific tutorial video showing how I do it, close-ups, so you get to see it. But once again, if you are not subscribed here to my YouTube channel, please smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, and keep posted because I put out content almost every day here, and there's content every day at my blog and social media platforms. So you don't want to miss anything. I have so much interesting and educational information on gardening, cooking, and even some organization. And if you're interested in entrepreneurship, you definitely want to hit me up at my podcast because I talk to experts in the fields of gardening, resources on for small businesses, and a ton of other stuff. Excuse me, friends. So, to see again more blogs and episodes like this, visit me on my blog for Dragonflies and Me, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a beat. Thanks so much for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to visit me at my podcast, blog, and of course, my social media platforms for additional daily inspiration for the home and garden. And like I always say, friends, until next time, be sure to eat fresh, shop local, and have a happy day. See you at my blog. Bye, friends.